Welcome. I'll be giving a speech on unity, gems from stories and traditions from around the world. And I'm Sue Prescott. I've been a theosophist since I've been a young adult, and I've enjoyed learning so much from the Theosophical Society. I'm also a therapist, mental health therapist, and I've worked with couples, families, and individuals my entire career. And I've written a book, Realizing the Self Within, and I see it's reflecting. But anyway, it won't show up, but gives an idea. And so it's available at the library. And I do have a website under my name, Sue Prescott. So we'll go ahead and begin. The following quote is from the Bible, and it expresses the importance of unity. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. The same thought is expressed by Annie Besant, who was an early theosophical orator and writer, giving talks around the world. And she wrote the following beautiful poem, O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May all who feel themselves as one with thee know they are therefore one with every other. In theosophical terminology, unity is defined as the Atman, and this is also called the universal spirit. To clarify a little bit more about what the Atman is, it's depicted in the following chart of the levels of consciousness within a human being. And it is the top, the field of unity, or the infinite divine, or God in the chart. This is Sanskrit. Then we have the Buddhic field. Buddhi is the field of intuition. And then when we have manas, or the mind, with our higher mind as buddhi manas, that's higher reasoning. And then our everyday mind is kama manas, with the desire body or the emotions, working with the mind. And then we have prana, which is the vitality and energy within and coming off the body. And it's chi in China and ki in Japan. And then the linga sharira, the astral double, the etheric double, that's the energy just off the body. And then the sthula sharira, that's the physical body and the body mind. And the body mind is what makes our heart beat faster when we run. And it's also where we will have our automatic reactions, like pulling our hand away from a hot stove, or even knowing how to drive every day without having to relearn it. So a simple chart with the higher self described is the absolute infinite divine, or Atman, the intuition and the higher mind with intuition and reason. This is the spiritual higher self. And then the personal everyday self is the everyday mind, our emotions, and our physical body. And just a comment about Atman, the highest within us, there's no my Atman and your Atman. Atman is in everything. But I do have my own spiritual higher self, just to make a comment on that. So the Atman can be thought of as light from the sun. And one ray of the sun shines on each of us as the Atman is in everyone. Just like white light can be broken down to all the colors of the spectrum, the Atman has all 7 levels of consciousness within it. Each ray of sunlight comes from the same sun, just as we all come from the same source, the Atman. And the Atman within us is what when we recognize unity, that's what we're experiencing. And we all have the same awareness of it. This oneness of life is also found within the human body. All the different organs and cells work together as one human being. So you can see the digestive system on the right and all the nerves. And then taking this a little further, two hands can appear separate if they're considered alone. One hand may even feel superior to the other, such as if we're right-handed, but both hands are important. They seem unconnected unless you look at them from a wider standpoint and see that they're attached to the body. Then the two hands can work together as they scoop up water. Another example of unity is the fingers of your hand, and each finger can seem separate, and the thumb may feel superior to the rest because it's strongest, or even the pointer finger because it can write or point things out. Again, from a wider, unified stance, each finger is needed for the hand to work well, as in the little baby's fingers holding onto the parent's finger, and the whole hand grasping the apple from the tree. So other beautiful examples of unity are the little ducks with their mother, or the baby duck on the mother's back, monkeys grooming each other, or the baby, the mother, and the grandmother, or helping someone, maybe the sister helping her brother, or the older cowboy helping the younger one. And then, of course, with grandparents. And you got to give the little boy credit as he's pushing his grandmother on the toy. And then letting someone merge into traffic. All signs of unity, which we act as one. So I'd like to share a story that was reported in the Seattle Times several years ago, and it's about the Special Olympics, which is an athletic competition for children and adults with intellectual and physically different abilities. In the story, 9 children were ready to run a foot race. The starting gun was fired and the children began to sprint. Right away, one child stumbled and fell and started crying. The other 8 children running forward heard the cries and stopped. They all came back to help. One child bent over and kissed the injured child. 2 other children helped him stand up, and then I'll get choked up possibly. Then all 9 linked their arms together and crossed the finish line as a group. The crowd, in admiration for the compassion shown by the contestants, stood up and applauded, and the children jumped for joy in response and hugged one another. And the crowd's cheering lasted for over 5 minutes. It's really a wonderful story. So the unity is also shown in friendship. With Mencius, the Chinese philosopher, he spoke about the unity of friendship in this way. Friendship is one mind in 2 bodies, where we feel so close to a friend and so understood as if we're one. Then Zeno, the Greek philosopher, said the same in What is a Friend? Another I. Again, the oneness of friendship is truly felt. We feel completely at ease and accepted by the friend. These pictures show the unity in friendship, which is not easy to put into words. On the surface, we still see 2 people interacting, nothing more. But if we experience this closeness of friendship, we know what it's like to feel that oneness. And it's a mystery that can't be defined. You don't feel like you're 2 people. You're so close. It's as if you're one. The mystery is reflected in the following American haiku, which is a Japanese 17-syllable poem. and the number of syllables can vary with English, but carrots and peas in a pot on the stove. We eat them and they are a part of us. Weren't we all along? Again, the mystery. We're one with the carrots and peas in our minds when we're at the store and buying them or cooking them, and then we eat them and we're one physically. But most importantly, we're one at the level of the Atman all along. This unity is true spirituality, and it's reflected in the meaning of the word spirituality, which comes from the Latin root spiro, meaning breath, the one breath of which we all are a part. And we have the same breath of God, or the Atman, within all of us. Einstein, the physicist and mathematician who gave us E equals mc squared, saying that energy and mass are interchangeable, understood the unity underlying everything in the world. And he described in this quote how easy it is to forget it. And many of you have heard this quote, but just absorb it again. A human being is a part of the whole called by us the universe, a part limited in space and time. He experiences himself, his thoughts, and his feelings as something separate from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for him, restricting him to his personal desires and to affection for a few people nearest to him. His task must be to free himself from this prison by widening his circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. So Einstein said this optical delusion that makes us feel separate can be overcome by widening our compassion. Something good to practice. Realizing the oneness of life is also described by Jesus in the Gospel of Thomas. And this is part of the Gnostic Gospels found in 1945 in Egypt at Nag Hammadi. And they weren't included in the Bible because they were discovered so much earlier or later. When you make the two one, and when you make the inner as the outer, and the outer as the inner, and the above as the below, and when you make the male and female one and the same, then you shall enter the kingdom. So we enter the kingdom of God, so to speak, when we realize this oneness. H.P. Blavatsky, one of the founders of the Theosophical Society, phrased it this way: very few are the strong swimmers who reach the light. He who gets there must have ceased to be a number and become all numbers. He must have forgotten the illusion of separation and accepted only the truth of collective individuality. So to reach the light of the divine, we must see the oneness in all. So moving to Australia, the indigenous culture there recognizes the unity of all, and the people believe that nothing is separate from anything else, especially nature and the environment. About 20 years ago, I visited Australia and spoke to the indigenous people there and learned about their culture. At the time, they referred to themselves as Aborigines, and the saying was popular, happy to be an Aborigine. Now they may refer to themselves as indigenous. What they felt was an affinity with nature, and the next quote refers to the tribesman who felt he was literally a part of the land. He said, I am the land. It is my backbone. I stand straight, happy, and proud because of the land. I can paint, dance, create, and sing as my ancestors did before me. This unity is also described in this book, and I'm showing a picture of it, although it goes in and out. And it describes an Indigenous schoolgirl who was asked to draw a picture of herself. And when she was done, she had painted a picture of a beautiful landscape. It depicted the part of the country she came from, but she did not draw herself in the picture. And this also reflects that the human being and nature and the environment are one. Now, these two pictures are of Uluru, the giant mass of rock, and you can see that in the picture on the left, that comes out of the ground, and it's absolutely incredible. And they have lots of tribal stories about it. And then the art is with the dots, as you can see. And I think it shows up. My own boomerang is also shown here with the dots, with their art. It was really cool. So the unity that is felt in the Indigenous culture is shown in the attitude that says there are no barriers or separation between one person and everyone else. No in or out group, or no we or they, just an all-encompassing us. And another quote from the Indigenous Australian wisdom, I am a part of every other, and every other is a part of me. So these men are playing the didgeridoo, which is a low-pitch resonating sound that has a wonderful tone. And it's an instrument that is made from a hollowed out tree trunk, and the player vibrates their lips as they're blowing into the didgeridoo. And they can make a continuous sound because of the way they take air into the cheek, and then they hold it there and blow out continuously so they can sustain the tone. And it is absolutely magical that they can do that. And so I talked to a man who played it, and he demonstrated how he took in the air. And it was really something. I tried, there was no way I could do it. So each person is treated equally with respect. Everyone is equal around the fire. Now there's no fire, but a sense of belonging is seen. One belongs by merely existing. The interdependence and strength as a group is shown in the quote, if you stay closely united, you will stay strong as the tree in the middle of a bushfire. The leaves may be scorched, but the tough bark is only scarred. Inside the tree, the sap is still flowing and the roots are still strong. And if you are united like the tree that will endure the flames, you will always have the power to be reborn. So shifting to the continent of Africa, there's a word that represents unity, Ubuntu, and it means humanity. And it refers to the principle of brotherhood and sisterhood, where a friendship and a kinship with others works to help people live together cooperatively. And we could use this in our workplace and in our neighborhoods. The proverb, Ubuntu, I am because we are, perfectly describes Ubuntu. And it's the principle that individuals exist because of the universal bond of sharing and sense of community. and it comes from the Zulu and Xhosa cultures. So you heard me pronounce Xhosa with a click as I said the word. So the X is said with a K sound along with the click at the side of your cheek. Xhosa, Xhosa. I didn't say it right yet. I learned this when I attended the Parliament of the World's Religions in South Africa in 1999. And at one of the breaks, where several of us were sitting in a grassy amphitheater, I heard a person using the clicks. And when I could, I stopped and chatted with him and learned he knew 7 languages, and he taught me how to say Xhosa, Xhosa. There, I kind of said it together. So it's just amazing to experience that culture and to learn that. So Ubuntu is the view of life that says we exist only by the help of others. We're alive because we're born by our mothers. We survive through the help of our families and communities. And our communities exist from the work of those who came before us, our ancestors. Ubuntu refers to the support and caring that people give to one another. And I love the flower picture here. Everyone is in, and there's no one who isn't accepted by the group. Just like in Australia, everyone is equal around the fire. So Ubuntu incorporates the golden rule, doing unto others as we would have them do unto us. And it recognizes that everyone is deserving of respect, love, and acceptance as being part of the one human family. This is depicted in the African adage that says, the blood in all of us is the same. So you can see the red corpuscles on the right, that's from the blood, and then the wonderful continent of Africa with the red corpuscles on it. Ubuntu stands for solidarity, where people work collectively for the common good. And this is collective fingers, and each person makes a contribution for the whole. Ubuntu in action means shared work, justice, and equality with respect for all. And a council of elders oversees the management of the tribe, and people operate from a sense of collective trust where no one overpowers another. And disputes can come up, but they're resolved so both sides can feel a winner. So you can see the people from Papua New Guinea. So I have a story to share from Sudan, the Sheikh and his 10 sons. Once upon a time, there was a sheikh who ruled a prosperous country, and he was getting very old and about to die. Over the course of his life, he had raised 10 sons, and he wanted to teach them a lesson about cooperation. So he asked his sons to come and meet with him. And each son was to bring 2 camel driving sticks. As they stood before their dying father, the father asked each son to break one of their sticks, and they complied, and each broke a stick. Then the sheikh asked the youngest son to collect the unbroken sticks and tie them in a bundle. Then he asked each of the sons to try and break it, but no one was able to do it, not even the strongest son. So the father said, "My sons, I am dying. Your oldest brother will now carry on my duties. Serve him and help him serve our people. You must all work together to accomplish this. My sons, you are like these sticks. You must all work together and, if one of you stands alone and doesn't pay attention to the others, you will be as easy for an enemy to break as a single stick. But if you band together and be as the fingers of one hand, you will be unbreakable, just like this bundle of sticks. This unity is also seen in the poetry of Jalaluddin Rumi, the Sufi, the mystic of the Islamic religion. I, you, he, she, we. In the garden of mystic lovers, these are not true distinctions. There's no separation between people. We're all one. So moving to the North America, the Native Americans feel the same unity with the natural world as the indigenous Australians and Africans. Chief South from the Suquamish Native American tribe, where Seattle got its name, referred to the unity of all lives as the web of life. In 1854, he gave this response to the President of the United States inquiry about purchasing land from the Native Americans. His response was written down by Ted Perry, a journalist. The great chief in Washington sends word that he wishes to buy our land. How can you buy or sell the sky, the warmth of the land, or the swiftness of the antelope? The idea is strange to us. If we do not own the freshness of the air and the sparkle of the water, how can you buy them from us? If we sell our land, you must remember and teach your children that the rivers are our brothers and yours, and you must henceforth give the rivers the kindness you would give any brother. The air is precious to the red man, for all things share the same breath. The beasts, the trees, and man, they are all of the same breath. So you can hear the one breath where spirituality comes from. Chief South goes on, all things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and daughters of the earth. Man did not weave the web of life. He is merely a strand in it. Whatever he does to the web, he does to himself. Again, the unity in his web of life. So poetic. It's also depicted in this prayer to Grandmother Earth. The two-legged, the four-legged, the winged, and all that move on you are your children. With all beings and all things, we shall be as relatives, just as we are related to you, O Mother. This is the Atman. We're all one. So moving to Hawaii, there's a rich culture of living in harmony with nature and with all living beings. An example is the practice of Ho'oponopono, the ritual of reconciliation and forgiveness. Now, Ho'oponopono comes from the root Ho'o, which means to bring about, and Pono, mo, which means to correct or make proper, to bring a perfect order, a sense of well-being. Traditionally, Ho'oponopono is led by healing priests or kahuna among family members of a person who is physically ill. And they come together and their ritual cleanses a person so he can be healed. And it can take several days. So you can see in the picture on the left, the beach where they would be gathering, and then the healer, Morna Nalamaku and Simeona is her last name. So the Hawaiian culture knows the power of one's thoughts, and it's believed that wrongdoing and anger cause illness. Ho'oponopono involves confession and repentance from the person who is ill. Those he has wronged come together so direct apologies can be made, as well as restitution if needed, and it's quite involved. And the prayer and meditation appeals to the divine creator about a change in the person's health so that he is filled with love, gratitude, and forgiveness. And it's a cleansing process for healing. And the liturgy is Divine Father, Mother, Son as well, and as one. If I, my family, relatives, or ancestors have offended you in thought, word, or deed, from the beginning of our creation to the present, we ask forgiveness. Let this cleanse, purify, and release all negative memories, blocks, and vibrations to transmute these unwanted energies to pure light. And it is done. So basically, it's saying to the divine creator and the people involved, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And the response back is, thank you, I love you, I forgive you. So I'd like to share a story about this from Joe Vitale and his book, Zero Limits. And he writes about a doctor, Dr. Len, who cured a complete ward of criminally insane patients at Hawaii State Hospital through the use of Ho'oponopono. The hospital was so bad, it had a reputation for staff quitting soon after they were hired. So when Dr. Len started working there, he didn't see individual patients very much. He just came in cheerfully every day, smiled at people as he passed by, and he reviewed their charts. As Dr. Len read about a patient, he would feel something in his body, an empathetic pain or discomfort, and he started Ho'oponopono by saying, I'm sorry, I love you. And he worked on asking forgiveness from the divine and sending love to the part of himself that felt the patient's distress, as well as to the patients. And pretty soon, a miracle happened. The people began acting better. The shackles were removed, their medications reduced, and the staff started to enjoy coming to work. And eventually that ward closed. Another example from Joe Vitale gives the process, and he received a negative email from someone, and he used Ho'oponopono, and he said, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. And he invoked the spirit of love to heal within himself what was going on in the other. And within an hour, an apology came from the person. So how does this work? It's based on the principle that we create our experience of the world in our minds. Take the example of going to a party. Each person's experience and reactions will be different. Some may enjoy themselves, others might be bored, some might feel pain if an ex-partner is there. The surroundings are the same, but each person's experience is based on their attitude and approach. This shows how we create our world. and how we feel. And then that's our choice and responsibility. So when something in our lives or someone has a problem, like with a crabby boss, a relative we can't get along with, or a child who is failing in school, how or why this is happening is our responsibility too. It may have originated in a past life or from our own current choices, but Ho'oponopono says if there's a problem, because we're there with it, it is our creation and our responsibility to heal. So you think of the situation you're troubled by, and you picture the person or people involved, and you open to what you did to cause it or to contribute to it, and you say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Now we're going to practice something like this in a minute. So from India, there's a wonderful similar technique from Paramahansa Yogananda. He was the Indian monk, guru, and yogi who founded the Self-Realization Fellowship. And he wrote the book shown there, and he taught the peace and harmony technique. So this is beautiful, and I've done it, and it works. So for 45 seconds, it's so short, there's nothing, no excuse why you can't do it. You think of someone you have difficulties with, and you hold the person in your mind, you flood them with light and say, may I be filled with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Then the second part goes, you think of yourself and you envision yourself with light surrounding you, and you say, may I be filled with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. So now I'd like to have us all do this short exercise, and we'll talk about it at the end of the talk. So go ahead and shut your eyes, and for 45 seconds, think of someone you have difficulties with. And you flood them with light. And say, may you be filled with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. May you be filled with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. Filled with peace and harmony. Now, keeping your eyes shut for 15 seconds, envision yourself in your mind and fill yourself with light. And say in your mind, may I be filled with peace and harmony, peace and harmony. So coming back to the room or your computer, you can open your eyes. So this takes exactly 1 minute. And Yogananda said, if we do this 5 times a day, the situation will get better in ways that we cannot now imagine. He says that sometimes it works quickly, but sometimes it takes a bit of time, but nevertheless, it works. He said that doing it, oops, I didn't make a slide for that. 3 or 4 times a day might work, but 5 times practically never fails. So the picture shows a story I'm going to tell about a lesson a man learned about letting go of judgment and having tolerance for others. Shoes in church. I showered and shaved. I adjusted my tie. I got there and sat in a pew just in time. Bowing my head in prayer, as I closed my eyes, I saw the shoe of the man next to me, touching mine. I sighed. With plenty of room on either side, I thought, why must our shoe soles touch? It bothered me, his shoes touching mine, but it didn't bother him much. A prayer began, Our Father. I thought, this man with the shoes has no pride. They're dusty, worn, even worse, there's holes on the side. Thank you for the blessings, the prayer went on. The shoe man said a quiet amen. I tried to focus on the prayer, but my thoughts were on his shoes again. Aren't we supposed to look our best when walking through that door? Well, this certainly isn't it, I thought, glancing toward the floor. Then the prayer ended and the songs of praise began. The shoe man was certainly loud, sounding proud as he sang. His voice lifted the rafters. His hands were held high. The Lord should surely hear the shoe man's voice from the sky. It came time for the offering, and what I threw in was steep. I watched as the shoe man reached into his pockets deep. I saw what was pulled out, what the shoe man put in. Then I heard a soft clink as silver hits tin. The sermon really bored me to tears, that's no lie. It was the same for the shoe man, for tears fell from his eyes. At the end of the service, as is the custom here, we must greet new visitors and show them good cheer. I felt somehow moved and wanted to meet the shoe man. So after the prayer, I reached over and shook his hand. He was old and his hair was truly a mess, but I thanked him for coming, for being our guest. He said, my name's Charlie. I'm glad to meet you, my friend. There were tears in his eyes, but he had a large, wide grin. Let me explain, he said, wiping his tears. I've been coming here for months, but you're the first to say hi. I know my appearance is not like the rest, but I really do try to always look my best. I always clean and polish my shoes before my very long walk, but by the time I get here, they're dirty and dusty like chalk. My heart filled with pain, and I swallowed to hide my tears as he continued to apologize for daring to sit so near. He said, when I get here, I know I must look a sight, but I thought if I could touch you, then maybe our souls might unite. I was silent for a moment, knowing whatever I said would pale in comparison. I spoke from my heart, not my head. Oh, you've touched me, I said, and taught me in part that the best of any man is what is found in his heart. The rest, I thought, this shoe man will never know. Like just how thankful I really am, his dirty old shoe touched my soul. So, and it touches me to read that. And you can see how easy it is to be judgmental of others and how easy it is to be wrong. So again, from India, Mother Teresa, the dedicated Albanian Indian Catholic nun who set up housing for the sick and dying in Calcutta. She said, how can we increase unity and peace in the world? She says it starts at home. When you ask what you can do to promote world peace, go home and love your family. So living as an expression of unity starts wherever we are. and we can love our families, our neighbors, our work associates, our groups. So this story is another beautiful example of a brother's love for his sister, and it's from Dan Millman. Liza was a little girl who suffered from a rare and serious disease. Her only chance of recovery was a blood transfusion from her 5-year-old brother, who had miraculously survived the same disease and had antibodies to combat the illness. The doctor explained the situation to the little brother and asked the boy if he would be willing to give his blood to his sister. He hesitated for a moment, and then he took a deep breath and said, "Yes, I'll do it if it'll save Liza." As the transfusion began and progressed, the family all around were so happy to see, as well as the boy in the bed next to him, that the color started to return to Liza's cheeks. Then the boy's face grew pale as he asked the doctor in a trembling voice, "Will I start to die right away?" Being young, the boy had misunderstood the doctor. He thought he was going to have to give all his blood to his sister. So this amazing story of love can be an inspiration to us all. So lastly, the Yoruba religion of Africa in Nigeria has a wonderful proverb that sums up how we should treat one another. And you can see the tribesmen and their deity, Olodumare. And the quote is, "Gentle character is that which enables the rope of life to stay unbroken in one's hand." So if we work to carry the rope of life and not break it, we will keep the principle of unity alive in our hearts. So hopefully these stories and quotes have inspired you all to live with more unity in your life, with the awareness that we are all one. Thank you.